I mean, obviously what happens on the court is what happens on the court, but like, just life in general, it's important, I think, for us as basketball players, as men, to get those things out, because not everybody cares to hear how we feel, or I mean, that's just point blank period. I mean, to half the world, I'm just helping them make money on DraftKings or whatever. You know what I mean? Like I'm a prop. You know what I mean? Like that's what my social media mostly consists of.
Indiana Pacers star Tyrese Haliburton got real honest about the state of legalized sports gambling.
You know, I think it's important for us to like have somebody to talk to, and like I think all that stuff is like, it can be funny sometimes. If somebody's like, I lost $1,000. I don't give a you know what I mean? But, I do think that it's important for us to just have conversations with people who really value who we are as human beings, and it's not just sports psychology, but it's our teammates, it's our loved ones, it's people who really look out for our well-being, and that's important for me to just have those constant conversations.
In addition, he spoke on the importance of seeing a sports psychologist, which we all should appreciate for his openness. Personally, for me, it's become like daily fantasy or a fantasy football season. I don't care who you have in your utility slot. I don't care that you took the Bucks, Heat, money line, and Giannis Antetokounmpo under points, rebounds, and assists. I just don't. The bigger issue, however, is this.
It'd be akin to an alcoholic finding out about a whole new street of bars that he or she never knew about.
How much time a day did you spend on picking players?
80% of my day was spent either researching or analyzing. I would listen to fantasy sports radio all day. I'd have one earbud in my ear.
How much money did you lose?
Close to $20,000.
The New York Times article on Josh's account of his addiction struck a nerve with some readers.
It had a profound impact on me, and to the point where I almost cried as I was reading it, because I could relate to Josh's story and kind of what I was going through at the time.
Paul is a gambling addict in his 20s. We agreed to conceal his identity and voice because he's afraid of ruining his career prospects.
The industry as a whole.
Fortune awaits!
Sports betting, with ads practically running on a loop on TV, is now legal in 30 states, and upwards of 90% of it is happening online and on phones with apps from companies like DraftKings.
As soon as we opened up and launched that mobile app, we saw the traffic spikes.
The floodgates opened in 2018 when the Supreme Court struck down a federal sports gambling ban. Now, gamblers in a state like Pennsylvania spend hundreds of millions of dollars each month, and the state gets 36% of winnings as tax revenue. This young man, we're calling him T, is in recovery and did not want to be identified for professional reasons.
I had bet over $400,000 in the past 6 years. With my phone, I could play 24/7. I could bet on Swedish basketball. I was betting at 3 a.m. on Russian ping pong.
Addiction experts say online gambling gives companies the data they need to keep players betting.
The more you know about someone, the more you know exactly what they need to keep them there, to extract more from them.
And the effect it is doing on society. And look, I know Rudy Gobert is not the source that people flock to for this sort of stuff, but he did receive the max fine under the CBA, $100,000, when he made a money sign to a referee implying that that certain referee, that particular subject, bet on the game. It should not be lost on us that this happened.
In 1945, there have been 15 match-fixing scandals in college sports that involved organized crime. Since Murphy versus the NCAA in 2018, the decision that flung open the doors to widespread legalization, there have been no such fixes, as far as we know. As the president of the NCAA, Charlie Baker says maintaining the integrity of collegiate competition is of paramount importance. But with legal wagering now just a click away in most of the country, that is no mean feat.
And also, this is taking place right now.
How prevalent is the level of harassment of athletes they receive online from gambling interests?
I very rarely have a sit down with a group of student athletes where somebody or some group of somebody's doesn't bring up the amount of harassment and the brutality of some of the stuff that comes across their phone, sometimes from bettors and sometimes from fans.
I had like a bad game last year, and I just went into my DMs after the game. People tell me, I need to kill myself, and I wasn't, an athlete, stuff like that.
The more we can get this out in the open and we can kind of shine the light, on this harassment monster, hopefully that can make people believe and make them see that this is not okay and this is something that needs to stop.
This is yet another critical point. It's not just the bettors who lose. It's those who are ridiculed for missing a shot, throwing an errant pass, missing a field goal, botching a free kick, skying a penalty. It's the effect that those who put themselves in that position, which is an addiction to be clear, then affecting those who were subjects in the game that they bet on.
New technology gives 24/7 access to sportsbooks, while gambling operators spend billions on advertising.
The advertisements are clear as day that if you're gonna come down here, make sure you put in some money on the game.
Now, addiction groups say problem gambling is on the rise, with more young people seeking help than ever before.
I had fallen deeper into the world of online sports betting. My life was completely shattered.
Before online casinos, if we had a person coming in under 24 years old, it was rare. Now kids coming in at 17 years old. That's the norm.
Think about that for a second, okay? Now think about this. The Mayo Clinic would write, the act of gambling has a powerful effect on the human mind. Wagering can create a compulsive dynamic affecting your mental, emotional, and physical health. If your gambling tips over to addiction, it changes the way the brain operates, leading to a real need for help. According to the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of the American Psychiatric Association, the criteria for a gambling disorder is persistent, recurrent, problematic gambling behavior leading to clinically significant impairment or distress. Some of those being preoccupied with gambling, including having persistent thoughts of reliving past gambling experiences, handicapping or planning the next venture, and thinking of ways to get money to gamble more, being restless or irritable when attempting to cut down or stop gambling, chasing your losses after losing money gambling by trying to gamble more to get even, gambling when feeling distressed, helpless, guilty, anxious, or depressed, jeopardizing or losing a significant relationship, job, or educational or career opportunity because of gambling, lying to conceal the extent of your gambling, making repeated unsuccessful efforts to control, cut back, or stop gambling, needing to gamble with increasing amounts of money to achieve the desired excitement, relying on others to provide money to relieve desperate financial situations caused by gambling. The Daily Trojan's Joshua Satcher would add, when it becomes an addiction, sports gambling can quickly lead to devastating financial issues. People may wager more money than they can afford to lose, often chasing losses in the hopes of recouping their funds. The reckless behavior can result in crippling debt, which can take years to recover from, if at all. According to debt.org, more than 5 million adults meet the criteria as problem gamblers. The average debt generated by a man addicted to gambling is between $55,000 and $90,000. Women gamblers average $15,000 of debt. In addition, many people learn to cover up their debt without family members finding out, which perpetuates the turmoil. Other types of addiction, like alcohol or drug use, are more difficult to hide because of physical signs, such as dilated pupils, smell, bottles, needles, etc. With gambling, however, it's easier to cover up losing a great deal of money by immediately selling a valuable item. For example, a gambler can lose $1,000 and then sell a watch and no one suspects anything. If you haven't already, please become a channel member at youtube.com/TYT Sports to help support us. Go to tyt.com/join to support the network, and if there are any stories we missed and or any that you would like to submit, get at me and follow me on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. DMs are open. Appreciate everybody's submissions. I truly don't believe that we understand as a society what sports gambling has done, and we are not going to know for some years. We have signs, we have some studies, but this is relatively a new topic. Not gambling, sports gambling. In the advanced technological stage we are at in civilization, where someone can just grab a smartphone, their own smartphone, everyone has one, and except if you're Kendrick Lamar, and download something in the App Store that pops up, and you have access, as the CBS News report put it, 24/7 to bet on anything, as long as the state allows it. I have teetered back and forth on this, but seeing what it has done to so many people, I really think that I'm having serious second thoughts. Because to see someone go from enjoying life, developing an addiction because of what we have allowed and state lawmakers have allowed and those in Congress have allowed, to then being homeless, having to be in counseling, losing their family, losing their house, it's just something that I can't jive with. I'm sorry.